I don't know about you, but I have not changed the brake fluid on my GSXR in about 3 years. So it is about time to do that. The procedure is quite simple, to be honest with you. So don't be scared to do it yourself. It's pretty difficult to make a mistake. When it comes to tools, it's also very minimal. One of the first things to do is get a Phillips to remove the master cylinder cap. Very simple. Don't lose it. Put it off to the side or the back of the seat. Of course, I would advise to clean as you go, because when everything is clean, it just fits together better and it gives you a lot less issues. So I will be doing that. It is very hot in this garage, as you can see from my glistening skin, but I have nothing else to do, so let's go ahead and change this brake fluid. Go ahead with removing the cap. Like I said, have a rag just in case brake fluid gets spilled. They say it's very corrosive. Honestly, never had issues because I cleaned it up as soon as it was spilled. Of course, it's very simple, but it has a few components. Looks like a rubber seal. I'm sorry, a plastic seal, then a rubber seal or bladder. Not really sure what the proper names of these things are, but I think you'll forgive me since I do ride a GSXR. It's the best I can do. All right. So to me, I've always bled my brakes in this way, and I have not had issues yet. So this bladder, take it out. It's a rubber bladder, so just be very careful with it. Wipe it down, inspect it, right? It should feel very good, and this one does. All right, and I'm going to wipe it down a little bit just to help with everything. So now that you have the master cylinder out like this, I would say, or what I have always done, is just suck out this old fluid and then poured in new fluid and then bled the brakes at the caliper. And I would say that's not 100% brand new fluid, but majority of it is, and it's good enough. So what is very helpful is honestly a Gatorade bottle with a hose for the caliper, and you just drill a hole into the cap so you have a bottle or a container to hold the fluid. And then this is called the turkey baster or whatever, but it has worked well for this. So let's just suck out the fluid in the master cylinder. And I would say suck out as much as you can. Because you're going to refill it with brand new fluid. And you should not introduce any air that way into the system. But of course, the enemy of hydraulic systems is air in the system. So just be mindful of that. But it's not that big of a deal. So of course, I sucked everything I could out, and I'm going to wipe it up make it as clean as possible, right? Just to help us down the road. So there we go. That is clean. As you can see, I have OEM DOT4 brake fluid. Honestly, I just had some extra that I used on my RMZ. And it's the same fluid and it's Suzuki, so I'm going to trust it. So what you're going to do is just pour in the brake fluid into the master cylinder or reservoir. All right. And then when it's full, you can go ahead and squeeze the brake. And I don't see any air bubbles coming out. So the goal is to get this fluid from the reservoir all the way down to the calipers. So let's go ahead and move down there to the calipers. This is where the Gatorade bottle with the hose comes in handy. And then you will need a 8mm wrench to make it easier. I would start by cleaning up around the area in the nipple. And if you have your bike on a triple tree stand, it makes it easier because you can turn the wheel and access the nipple a little bit easier. And I will try to zoom in here to show you where the nipple is. Honestly, I do not know if you can see it, but the nipple is right there on the inside of the caliper, and of course has a rubber boot on it. I would push that off, or you have to remove the boot, and then the nipple is exposed. Of course, I would clean it as well as you can, just to not introduce debris into the system. The next thing is you want to take your Gatorade bottle with the hose and attach it to that nipple. It is tricky. And I would say good enough right there, because you want to be able to catch excess brake fluid or the old brake fluid in the hose and not make a mess. So the next thing is to take your 8mm wrench, and I would just put it on that nipple and then just do the old school method of squeeze the brake, crack it open, and when the brake lever bottoms out, keep it there, close the nipple, and then release the brake. I believe you're able to see the big picture. So I have a wrench on the nipple, and I'm going to press and hold the brake, and I'm going to crack it open and then watch for fluid come out. And then of course, as I was holding the brake, it bottomed out. Once it did that, I closed the nipple, and I'm going to release the brake. So what this does, once I do that, it pulls that new brake fluid in the reservoir into the system. So just keep on repeating, pump it a few times. Just repeat the process. Okay. And you repeat it till you see clear brake fluid. I'm not going to lie to you. I honestly, it's so little brake fluid that most of the time I just let it go into the rag that I have, because it does not create that much of a mess. And that is how I usually do it, since I'm going to get rid of the rag anyways. So, right, we pump it. I just jam it in there and just let it drip on the rag itself, because I'm going to clean it up. You pump it, crack it, okay. You just keep repeating it. It is a pain in the ass, but that is the best way to do it without machinery. Of course, keep an eye out the reservoir to make sure it's filled, because as long as it's filled, you are not introducing any air into the system. So like I said, just keep on repeating it like 1,000 times till you see clear fluid. You keep pumping it, crack it, close it, and take some more. Okay. So definitely the last two cracks, I've seen fluid that is clear come out of it. Which is what I want. So I may move on to the other side. So take the rag out, and look, it's just very minimal brake fluid on it. So let's move to the other side. Same thing on the other side. You got that rubber piece, pop it off, don't lose it. Wipe up the stuff. And like I said, you can use that hose and a bottle, but it's so little brake fluid that I always just let it fall into the rag without any issues. The other side is a little bit more challenging. You do have to reach across the bike, but always make sure the reservoir is filled so that you don't suck any air in. Let's go do this. A few pumps and then press and hold till the bottom's out. Same thing. There we go. I'm seeing clear fluid coming out right now. So I'm going to do it a few more times just to make sure. All right, that is it. Go ahead, wipe off everything. If you spilled some brake fluid somewhere, which like I said, this is very minimal. Next thing is to fill the reservoir up between the lower and upper. So right now we're a little bit above halfway. Go ahead, put the rubber bladder back in, and then the plastic ring with the groove facing down, and then we just tighten it. Tighten the reservoir cap. You know, don't have to hulk out on it. Just want it snug. And then go ahead and put the retaining clip in just to make sure it doesn't pop off. There we go. The brake feels solid. Clean up after yourself because you don't want to have to search for tools. So, as far as I'm concerned, that is it on bleeding the brakes. Take the old brake fluid, throw it out, and now just start it up and take it around the block.